A phone is not just a phone, it's a camera, maps, wallet, books, movies, games, and do you even know you can make calls with this device? And as the smartphones have been becoming a more and more important part of our lives, there are laws and regulations popping up around it in each part of the world. There are social media bans for teenagers, there are phone free spaces now, somewhere recordings are prohibited. Slowly, we're understanding that smartphones aren't universally good or bad. Their impact depends and varies upon the time we use it, the place, or the person using it. So, in this video, I would like to propose 5 changes or say regulations that I think would make smartphones safer, more calmer, and something we more enjoy using it. We probably can't escape our phone, but we can strive for a better device for ourselves at least. Let's start with the first one. Feature level toggles. This is a very tricky change to implement, but I believe in this day and age, a user using an app that mostly requires your attention, like Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, the user should have liberty to select what features it wants on its app. Say you don't want to use the Reels tab on Instagram, so you can just disable it. This should be an option in the app. Disable the feature from your home page. And this is a real problem popping up and people can feel it. For example, there's an unhook YouTube Chrome extension and it has over 1 million users. So a large number of public is feeling this problem that these devices are trying to hijack our attention and we need a way to escape it. And there are a lot more reasons that this should be an option. First of all, we need to see how these apps market itself. For example, YouTube markets itself as a learning app. So if a student goes on the app and searches for a lecture, it gets 1 or 2 lecture videos, a playlist, and 15 to 20 shorts within the first 5 seconds. This is an extremely distractive and a hijacking mechanism, and a student should not face this while he or she is there to learn something and attend a lecture on YouTube. Similarly, Instagram also markets itself as an app where you can connect with your friends. But if you are a regular Instagram user, you must be seeing that the home page really not just shows you who you're following or your friends. Your home page is your For You page and it kind of works on the algorithm that what it may think you like. So while you may have opened the app to check on your friends or see the DMs, the home page just tries to take your attention away to provocative rage-baiting political content. This sounds conspiring, but it is kind of the truth that how these apps work. It is the attention economy. The more you be on that app, the more ads you see and the more they make in revenue. And that is what I think is the major reason that these apps would never put any feature like this. But let me give you some glimmers of hope. Lawsuits against these companies for social media addiction are now a thing. They are popping up in courts everywhere around the world and companies are fighting for it. So giving a feature like this might give them a chance to redeem themselves. Otherwise, it will be a loop that they go to a court, they get sued, they put them a fine and we move on. We can have a solution for it. We can give the user control and let the user decide what they want to see on the app. And this won't make a groundbreaking difference. For example, previously, the social media companies and other shopping apps like Spotify have agreed on giving option to opt out of targeted advertising, although it is very deep and buried under a lot of menus. In a similar way, feature level toggles can be implemented. And if you ask many people, they have not turned off personalized advertising. So most people would not turn off these toggles. So providing an option would not create as much harm as they might think. People really do not toggle with their apps and change the settings usually. And the biggest one is that these companies have started rolling out some things to a certain extent. YouTube Shorts now comes with a time limit, minimum is 15 minutes a day, and then the app disables the Shorts feature. This is kind of what the lawsuit has made them do, I guess. And the second one is Instagram Instants. It is a very latest feature launched this very month and you can go to the settings and disable the Instagram Instants feature. What I'm really suggesting is give the user control of what it wants to see on their app. If I do not want Instagram Reels, let me have an option to not have Instagram Reels. I am not quitting Instagram. My friends are there. I want to see their post, but do I have to? My second suggestion is something that not many people would relate with, especially the ones who actually end up watching this video. We all are tech savvy people and we know how to navigate our way around the cloud storage and backup options. But I genuinely believe that cloud storage should be an opt-in instead of an opt-out. What I mean by that is phones should by default have photos and videos backup turned off. Google Drive, Apple Photos, whatever, iCloud Drive, whatever you call it. First of all, the free storage you get on Apple is 5 gigabytes and on Google Photos you get 15 gigabytes, which is not a lot, but it is not also nothing. Phones already ship with huge storage these days. 128 GB or 256 GB is like two of the most common variants available in the market for any range of device at this point. And that is very enough for majority of the population. And why I think that syncing photos to cloud does not make sense is majorly because first, the data transfer between old and new phone is very seamless. You just put the new phone and the old phone next to each other and they just copy the data these days. And if you have already provided that, maybe syncing is not something that everyone is looking for. We usually forget that there is a large chunk of population for whom smartphone is the only computing device they own. They don't have a laptop or any second smartphone or an iPad. They don't need the sync feature. This is the only device where they store the photos. This is the only device where they will see the photos. And this is a fun one, but a lot of photos people click are very disposable in nature. You click business cards, phone numbers. You can go check your own Google Photos. You might find your own 10th class notes there and you don't need them anymore. It is just occupying space there, and this is where the problem arrives. Because once the Google Drive or the Apple Drive is filled, the companies try to lure you into buying more storage, and that comes in a form of subscription. They will send you notifications with very emotional terms like backup your memories, there are 39 photos at risk, backup your photos to keep it safe. And there is a very simple reasoning to it. The incentive is very clear to all of us, maybe. Companies use cloud storage as a way to lock in customer within the ecosystem. You buy the iCloud storage once and they expect you to keep paying for it for month after month after month, and then if you go to buy a new phone, you may go for another iPhone, you may go for a new MacBook. You will never leave that ecosystem again. And the words they use actually impact because the cloud storage is not something very affordable to everybody, and that's why they don't try to sell the cloud storage, but they try to sell the panic around not having the storage. You will lose your memories. The photos are not safe. The photos are at risk again. And this is where the companies champion this. They have demonized physical storage. Physical storage is something now seen as fragile, outdated, risky. They have removed the SD card slots. The laptops are now shipping without the Type A port. But I'm not asking for SD card slot back here. Let's move on with the technology. That would be like taking a step back. But what I'm saying is everybody should not be automatically signed up to cloud storage. The cheapest subscription for extra storage is 30 GB for 60 rupees per month. That will be 720 rupees a year for 30 GB of storage. And you will keep paying year on year on year. And in 10 years, you may have spent 7,200 rupees for 30 GB of storage. In 720 rupees, you can buy a 32 GB pen drive and keep it with you forever. You can buy 2 pen drives and copy your data in both of them. You will be safe if one of them is lost. It works. Another way that you are signed up to use Google Drive is through WhatsApp messages, because WhatsApp messages are backed up on Drive, and the other alternative way is to locally storing WhatsApp messages and backing up, which is a very fragile process. If you don't back up correctly, let's say one time, your messages can be gone forever. This third suggestion is my favorite one in this one. It is a hardware button to disable the touch, or as I would like to call it, anti-theft mode. The biggest pros of this feature is this one is easy to implement. Second, this one does not cause any financial harm to corporations. So this is not something they have a huge reason to avoid. And we have this feature to an extent in both iOS and Android, but the implementation is very complicated. In iOS, you get guide access mode and it provides the feature to disable the touch. It is very tricky to even turn on the guide access mode and then turn off the guide access mode. Second, we have the pinned apps feature in Android, which does pin the app but does not disable the touch. You cannot leave the app, but you can do anything in that app. And I can think of multiple use cases that why do we need a hardware touch disabling button. First of all, the highest priority for any smartphone lawmaker these days has been child safety. You put a video and hand your phone to a child by locking the touch. There will be no harm in it. He will watch the video and put the phone aside when the video is over. Kids are very curious and fearless with touching the buttons of the phone. We know that there are news reports. You have seen it in your family, your neighbors, that what have the young kids have done with their parents' phones. Somebody ordered something expensive on cash on delivery and the major part is that smartphones are very easy to use these days. You go in an app and it does half the things for you. To some extent, it will prevent people from phone snatching or pickpocketing. Because if an unlocked phone is snatched, there is enough time for the snatcher to disable your internet or log out you of your accounts, and which makes it difficult to track your phone back. These things can be avoided if instinctively you disable the touch of your device. Very arguable that it won't work as seamlessly as I'm proposing, but it won't harm to have this feature, all I'm saying. Third reason I have is something you all may relate to. Sometimes you hand your phone to somebody to show a photo or a message and they instinctively tries to swipe on your phone to see other photos or see other messages, which you do not want. But now you can't just snatch your phone back, or because that would look overreactive and it would create suspicions that what are you hiding in your phone. It is normalized to not act when somebody is checking your phone. A hardware button will push back that normalcy to respect and privacy. Next two suggestions that I have are related to data privacy. Like, come on, this is a smartphone video and I am suggesting laws. We can't just not talk about data privacy. So the permission manager in smartphones has been an ongoing and evolving domain. This is one where we have seen most development in, let's say, last decade. We no longer have like a torch app that needs your camera and phone permission like it used to be back in the day. The permissions are becoming more and more transparent. Nowadays, you are given an option to choose what to allow and what to deny in each and every single app, and for every basic hardware nuance. Like, you can decide if YouTube wants your camera permission or not. Mostly YouTube works without the camera. You do not need the camera until you are shooting and uploading via the YouTube app, which I don't think anyone does. The Amazon app asks for your camera permission only if you are looking for an item by searching it in the real world. Otherwise, the app is fully functional without the usage of camera, and you can just never allow Amazon to use its camera. We can limit and disable which apps can run in background. And we also know that the permission features are highly customizable, like ask every time or allow only while using the app. This is pretty handy and makes you feel safe, especially in apps that may require your constant location. This is the newest development, the limited file access. Most apps nowadays do not need all your photos and videos as access. But let's talk what is missing, or what I believe should be the next steps. There is lack of transparency on how smartphones on apps use your sensors like motion sensor or accelerometer sensor. And the other one is that the consumer still do not have right to control which app they want to be connected to the network and which they do not want. But why is this necessary to have these features? It is basically the next stage of evolving smartphone privacy and user autonomy, as I said. Similarly to my Amazon example, that how Amazon works without the camera permission, it also works without most of the sensors. But it uses all your sensors and never asks you for its permission. So we do not know what it is using your sensors for. Let's say you went on a walk. Is Amazon registering that walk to show you that you may be interested in running shoes or fitness devices? We would never know. And there are no current regulations related to that. There is no transparency required on how the data is collected from sensors and used by these apps. And this is very underrated to talk, but the lack of sensor usage does save the battery. And to back my case, I would like to mention Graphene OS, which is a privacy-focused Android system that runs without the dependencies of Google. Graphene OS does provide these features to disable the sensor and network control, and all the apps are functional to a great extent. There are obvious exceptions like Strava needs your sensors, Google Maps needs sensors, but you do not find many reasons for Instagram to have your sensor control. At best, I found this filter in Instagram stories that needs you to shake to reveal a picture, but it is not important in me texting or DMing or watching reels. It is not necessary. And Graphene OS does send you a notification that which apps tries to use your sensors if you disable the permission, and it pops up every time you open Instagram, Canva or any other big tech app. I think this is a very difficult one for one reason that, and if a smartphone manufacturer tries to push this feature, there will be certain backlash from certain industries, such as the free-to-play mobile games that have built $1 billion of empire based on ad revenue. You get 2 keys on Subway Surfers by watching an ad. If the user finds out that it can just disable the network permission and play the game without ads and interruptions, it will seriously hamper these companies. Currently, the only solution to do that is by putting your phone in airplane mode or turning off the data. Second one is again the other tech companies and ad companies who may or may not use your sensor data to show you ads. We will never be able to verify this, and that is the big problem. My final one is to have an accountability structure for mobile app. This one is a little difficult to explain, but let me explain this one slowly. We are so far in the time to say that apps are part of our day-to-day infrastructure. It impacts every little task we do. Maybe you have a smartwatch or a smart toothbrush, they all come with apps. Your washing machine might be coming with an app, and sometimes it is not in our hand what app we need to install. For example, you are going to a concert, that concert might give you an app to make its entry, and trust that app developer that the app is safe for you. And that is why I think that apps should have timely auditing and standardized safety checks just like other things in our infrastructure. For example, if a restaurant serves you food and it turns out that food is causing food poisoning in the locality, then you know that it is a job of food inspector to keep a check on that. There are like registered suppliers of ingredients to that restaurant. There is a structured hierarchy who you can question if the food is causing problems. But in applications case, the current procedure somewhat looks like that big tech companies may get sued for mishandling data or some dark practices, and they get fined, they get sued again, they get fined. This keeps going on. And there is no other structure to verify whether smaller apps like say an hospital app or your school's attendance app handles your data correctly. Like this is an ongoing story. Like the cyber activists say that CBSE board has exposed students' data, and the authority they approached for this is National Human Rights Commission, which begs the question, is it like National Human Rights Commission's duty to make sure that CBSE board is not exposing students' data? Because it is the matter of child safety and data privacy. So yes, it is National Human Rights Commission's duty, but are they prepared? Is there structure in the National Human Rights Commission or any other authority to see whether a central organization like CBSE is handling students' data carefully? So what I think should be done is there should be a systematic auditing for every level of apps, like the safety officers for restaurants. There should be an advisory panel of experts consisting senior developers, activists, bureaucrats, policymakers, researchers, and anyone who is relevant to this field, not politicians. And what it will do is it will create a systematic hierarchy that will be accountable for it, and public will know who to ask the question. And as you know, one who asks the question in democracy is known as an concerned citizen. A concerned citizen. An app developer should be obliged to release timely reports of safety and auditing to make sure the app is working fine. This should be applied to both the government and private sector. I don't think we need many reasons that why do we need it. We see it every day that how apps impact our lives and how much sensitive data the apps store. But in case you still want to oppose, smartphones are not a luxury or an optionality. They are a necessity. There are things for which smartphones are required. Some people can't buy monthly ration without smartphone. You need smartphone for LPG registration. You need smartphone for your driver's license. You need smartphone for your CBSE exams. These all depend on various different apps by various different public or private organizations. Timely auditing will make sure that the safety measures are of top level, and it will prevent cyber attacks and crimes. Government agencies force install people apps during elections, census, health emergencies. We need apps and we trust these blindly. This should not be a thing. Trust should be won by the government. and it strengthens the public's trust in the democracy. Why would you not want a strong democracy and trust for the government? And while we are at it, let's have some honorable mentions or long shots. This is kind of my wish list of what I want my phone to look like. A camera indicator at the back side to prevent any non-consensual recording. The Nothing Phone 4a launched this year has that feature. It should be a regulation to make that a compulsion. A mandatory audible camera shutter, again to prevent any non-consensual recording. Japan has this as a regulation, and there are hefty fines if you are caught recording something that you should not. AI training should be an opt-out. This is totally a wishlist item. This will never happen. Features like always on display, lift to wake, touch to wake should be off by default in smartphones. I think smartphones already take a lot of attention of our day-to-day lives. They should not ask for it by just staying there and lighting up randomly. Ads on news on wallpaper should not be a thing. There are a lot of Chinese OEMs and make a lot of money of it. I don't think it's necessarily unsafe, but it is kind of creepy. And necessary add-on support in WebKit and Chromium based browsers. The Gecko based browser aka Firefox have them, but Chromium based browsers like Brave or Chrome do not have any mobile extensions, or WebKit based browsers, that is Safari and any other browser on iOS, do not support any browser extensions. That's all I have to say about what I want my phone to do and what I do not want my phone to do and what I want government to do.